My name is Dale Ward, I'm a comedian and an artist, and I wrote a thesis about how Michael Myers from the Halloween movies is a Zen Master. I called it Zen and the Art of Halloween, an analysis of Zen Master Michael Myers. This video is chapter 4 of my thesis, and these are some of my Halloween paintings that will be appearing in the background. So let's get into chapter 4, which is titled The Art of Halloween. My fourth proof of Michael Myers being a Zen master is that he is an artist in many ways. All Zen masters see the artistic side of existence, and the Shape also seems to see art all around him in everyday life and death, which the rest of us take for granted. For instance, when the boogeyman is watching someone whilst practicing his standing meditation, he stares as if what he's looking at isn't just a person, but a fascinating piece of art. In those moments, Michael appears to simply observe and accept the art of reality as it is while being empty of all thoughts, cares, and judgments. That is very Zen! Moreover, Myers seems to see the art of people in all states of existence, meaning that he isn't only transfixed by humans while they're alive. In fact, he's obviously much more infatuated with people during and after their deaths. For example, on Halloween in 1978, after Michael killed Bob by sticking him to a wall with a kitchen knife, the Shape stared at Bob hanging on the wall for quite a few moments while tilting his head back and forth, seemingly mesmerized by it. It's as though Michael Myers saw Bob as a piece of art. So he hung Bob on the wall to admire. And I have to say, Bob was well hung. Am I right? Like most unenlightened people, Bob didn't realize that his own existence was a miraculous form of art. So Michael Myers merely made him face the truth, which is what Zen masters do. In other words, Bob didn't know he was a walking piece of art, so the Shape showed him. And it takes the artistic work of a Zen master to do that. In the Tao Te Ching, which heavily influenced the formation of Zen Buddhism, Lao Tzu said, quote, "Do your work, then step back," end quote. This is precisely what the boogeyman did with Bob. And after he hung Bob on the wall and then stepped back to look at his work, Michael must have seen that the living piece of art became a totally different piece of art in death. Specifically, the art piece called Bob became the art piece called Bob on the Wall. Perhaps this is part of what intrigued Myers so much. Zen masters, like the boogeyman, are aligned with the art of existence and the nature of reality in the present moment beyond words and thoughts, so that life is seen in a way where every piece of nature is a work of art, and every piece of art is a work of nature. In other words, every Zen master sees that all of reality is a form of art, including death. With that in mind, the Shape not only shows us the art of death, he includes us in it as well. So he doesn't just observe art everywhere, he also creates art using his favorite medium, corpses. Because Michael Myers is the Shape of an artist. In fact, all Zen masters are artists in their own way, and the boogeyman is no exception. Your body is his canvas, your blood is his paint, and a knife is his paintbrush. In this respect, the Shape is a master painter. And his art can be interpreted as showing us the beauty that can be seen in death, if you know how to look at life. In the 13th century, Zen Master Dogen said, quote, "The coming and going of birth and death is a painting," end quote. In this light, the modern art of Michael Myers is merely more focused on the death portion of said painting. But the quote from Dogen continues, quote, "Unsurpassed enlightenment is a painting. The entire phenomenal universe and the empty sky are nothing but a painting," end quote. With that being said, Michael's art can be seen as revealing the Zen truth that we are all brushstrokes in a painting. In other words, we are all walking, talking pieces of art, and the shape simply puts us all on display. One of these displays was found by Laurie Strode on Halloween in 1978, when she went over to the Wallace house and saw the artfully placed corpse of her friend Annie lying on a bed. At the head of the bed was the tombstone of Michael's sister Judith Myers, and the whole scene was lit by the warm Halloween orange glow of a jack-o'-lantern. It was the boogeyman's Halloween death art. Every Zen master is artistic in a distinctive way because each student requires unique and personalized guidance on how to aim at the path of enlightenment. This process usually starts with the Zen master intuitively discovering what's blocking the student from enlightenment, then creatively removing the blockage while artistically pointing at the miracle of existence, which most people ignore or take for granted on a daily basis due to repetitive experience, social conditioning, being overly consumed in thoughts and plans while not being in the present moment, etc. Sometimes the Zen master has to shock the students in order to wake them from their sleepy complacency. Michael Myers does this by showing them the art of death and creating it with them. Literally. In this sense, the shape forces us to face death, which is obviously very shocking for most people. Furthermore, because art is subjective, no artist can please everyone, and there will always be critics and haters of any artist's work, although this is often due to the fact that the artist or the artist's vision is simply misunderstood, just like the art of the boogeyman. For example, Laurie Strode was one of Michael's harshest critics. She totally hated his art. Laurie was physically repulsed and horrified at the art that Myers made out of Annie, which caused her to stumble across Michael's additional art projects made out of the corpses of her other friends, Bob and Linda. Needless to say, Laurie didn't appreciate those art pieces either. She definitely did not see anything she liked. But I think that the shape was simply showing her that life transcends death through art, which is the art of Zen. In the 2018 timeline of the Halloween mythos, Master Michael Myers made more art when he hung Dave on a wall with a kitchen knife, just as he did with Bob 40 years earlier. Later that Halloween night, the shape displayed more art when he decapitated a police officer, hollowed out the head, carved triangles into the eyes and nose, sliced a smiling grin into the mouth, and placed a flashlight into the neck hole to make the severed head look like a literal human jack-o'-lantern. And one day, Michael Myers will empty your head as well. He will scoop out all of your thoughts and ideas along with your brain, because, much like other Zen masters, the boogeyman gets rid of the beliefs and concepts that get in the way of you realizing your true artistic nature. The shape shows you that you are art, and he shows you that you are not any less of a masterpiece in death. This is because Michael displays the art of you, but it isn't a cerebral or intellectual display that he puts on. The boogeyman is revealing what you are more than who you are in terms of your individual ego identity. In other words, Michael's art gallery is an unveiling of reality itself, beyond thoughts and concepts. It's an exhibition of existence, which means that it's also an exhibition of Zen. The art of reality is just like Zen, because it transcends all ideas and rationalizations. It's ineffable and has no higher purpose beyond itself. The concept of purposelessness is very important in Zen, because Zen is right here and right now, nothing else. The present moment has no other purpose than to just be. Therefore, Zen has no serious purpose. As Zen monk Shunryu Suzuki said, quote, "If we are too serious, we will lose our way," end quote. So in Zen, nothing is serious because nothing is more important than anything else. For instance, 2 centuries ago, Zen monk Ryōkan Taigu wrote the poem, quote, "In the scenery of spring, there is nothing superior, nothing inferior. The flowering branches grow naturally, some short, some long," end quote. Maybe that poem also implies that Michael Myers naturally grew to be an artist. Killer! Because that was his nature. Perhaps if the Shape were to write a poem similar to Ryōkan's, it would be something like this. "In the scenery of autumn, there is no one superior, no one inferior. I will use knives to kill everyone, some short, some long." Zen monk D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "Art is divine and religious in its purposelessness," end quote. And Michael's art, killing, has no purpose. So could it be said that the art of the boogeyman is divine and religious as well? I think so. As much as we try to find meaning in his art, killing, I don't think Michael has any intention whatsoever, other than to make art. Death! He doesn't even appear to see any meaning in his own art. Killing! Which is also very Zen. For example, when the Shape is staring at his Bob-on-the-wall art piece, he seems to be admiring death itself, and not pondering on the significance of death or how short life is. That again is very Zen. Matsuo Bashō, who is regarded by many as the greatest haiku poet of all time, just months before his death in 1694 wrote the Zen haiku, quote, "How admirable to see lightning and not think life is fleeting," end quote. This poem indicates that Michael Myers is very admirable, because the boogeyman definitely never thinks life is fleeting. It should be noted that the flash of lightning in the poem is a Buddhist cliché metaphor for the transience of life. It's a reference to help you appreciate the existence of the here and now while you have it. As when Zen Master Dogen, 400 years before Bashō, said, quote, "Your life is as brief as a flash of lightning," end quote. Or when Michael Myers shows you how quickly your life flashes by with the flash of his knife. But the Bashō poem is more of a warning against people becoming attached to the idea of the short and temporary nature of life. He implies that it's best to just see the lightning and feel the incredible ephemeral experience of existence while not being caught up in words, thoughts, or questions about the fleeting nature of life. As D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "Zen is not a mere philosophical contemplation on the evanescence of life, but a most practical entrance into the realm of non-relativity," end quote. Zen is focused on becoming unattached to all things, including the transience of life and every other thought and idea. This proves yet again that Michael Myers is a Zen master, because he's obviously not attached to anything, especially the idea of life being short or temporary. In fact, the boogeyman doesn't seem to have any ideas whatsoever. He just does things. Mostly stalking and killing. But I actually don't think that the Shape thinks about anything at all. That is also very Zen. The Japanese word Mushin is one of the most important ideas in Zen. It literally means no mind, and it comes from the Zen phrase Mushin Noshin, meaning mind without mind. D.T. Suzuki paraphrased Zen Master Takuan Soho when he said, quote, "Mushin means going beyond the dualism of all forms of life and death, good and evil, being and non-being. This is where all arts merge with Zen." Psychologically speaking, this state of mind gives itself up unreservedly to an unknown power that comes to one from nowhere and yet seems strong enough to possess the whole field of consciousness and make it work for the unknown. Hereby he becomes a kind of automaton. End quote. That quote could have easily been said by Dr. Loomis as he described the shape. You can actually hear Loomis saying, "Michael Myers is beyond all forms of life and death, of good or evil, being and non-being. He seems to be possessed by an unknown power to the point where he moves like an unperturbed automaton." Resuming the quote about Mushin from D.T. Suzuki, quote, "Mushin is not to be confused with the helplessness of an inorganic thing such as a piece of rock or a block of wood." End quote. And we all know that Michael Myers is anything but helpless. Nor is he to be confused with an inorganic thing. Concluding his description of Mushin and perhaps of the boogeyman as well, Suzuki continues, quote, "He is unconsciously conscious or consciously unconscious, a puppet in the hands of the unconscious. Metaphysically speaking, this is the philosophy of shunyata, or emptiness." End quote. And the shape is pure emptiness that seems to be conscious yet unconscious. In many ways, Michael Myers is the shape of Mushin. Mushin is the concept of thinking in a non-thinking way. It's the mind of no mind, or no-mindedness. It's a mind being unconscious of itself and having no mind attachments while being totally present in the here and now, which I believe perfectly describes Michael Myers. Mushin is a state of being in Zen, but it's also seen as an ultimate attainment in all forms of art, particularly in martial arts. Samurai followed a code of ethics called Bushido, which is a Japanese word meaning way of the warrior. Bushido is heavily influenced by Zen, with Mushin being a fundamental principle on the path to truly mastering any weapon or method of combat and killing. And Michael Myers constantly shows his mastery of killing with several different weapons, including items that were not meant to be used as weapons. Therein lies another Zen lesson from the shape. Things are what they are, not what you think they are. The boogeyman made this clear when he asked Bob the wordless question, "Is this knife a weapon that kills you or an art hanger that hangs you?" Yet no question was asked, because Michael just is and just does, without any thinking or communicating. Michael Myers is the shape of no mind. Mushin! Zen is very much about not overthinking things. It's the art of existing in reality as it is without over-intellectualizing it or being attached to it. This is mostly a foreign concept to a lot of Western thinkers. For example, French philosopher René Descartes said, quote, "I think, therefore I am." End quote. However, if Descartes had tried to debate this in Haddonfield on Halloween, Michael Myers would have responded by killing him. That is what the boogeyman is, and that is what he does. Thus, if Michael had a thought, it might be, "I kill, therefore I am." But the shape doesn't appear to have any thoughts at all, or at least he definitely doesn't display any intellectualism in any way. Although this is not to say that Michael Myers is stupid. In fact, he reveals a lot of cunning while conjuring fear and toying with his victim's sense of reality, not to mention the highly refined execution of his executions. I'm just pointing out that if Myers is philosophical, he obviously doesn't talk about it, and that is also very Zen. As Lao Tzu said, quote, "Those who know do not speak, those who speak do not know," end quote. Therefore, it's possible that the shape knows all. Whereas I, on the other hand, won't shut up. Intellectualizing and philosophizing are not very important aspects of Zen. In fact, even the aforementioned lightning flash poem by Bashō is not considered to be the highest level of Zen, because it makes you think about thinking about life being fleeting. The following poem by Bashō, however, is considered to be the greatest haiku poem of all time. Quote, "An old pond a frog jumps in, plop." End quote. Side note, plop is the interpretation that philosopher Alan Watts uses because the Japanese phrase mizu no oto translates to English literally as sound of water. And I agree that plop is better suited to the poem. Furthermore, I think that a similar poem written by Master Michael Myers might be "An old wall, I hang Bob up, art." A high-level Zen haiku leans less towards intellectualization and more towards nostalgia and the art of feeling. It's a stone dropped into the pond of the mind which causes ripples in the reader's consciousness. In this sense, haiku has little to do with philosophizing or answer-seeking. Haiku is more about the awe and feeling of existence itself. As D.T. Suzuki said, quote, "To be intimate with reality, do not ask a question," end quote. And the shape has never asked a question. Yet he somehow shows us answers, which are beyond all thoughts, concepts, and words, because the sounds of screams need no translation. It should be clarified that Zen is not against words and thoughts. Zen is against attachments to words and thoughts, because such things are useful symbols of what is, but they are not what is. Yet most people make the mistake of prioritizing their thoughts of reality over reality itself. And Michael Myers simply forces you back into reality by showing you that your thoughts cannot save you from the reality of the shape. As Zen Master Huangbo said, quote, "The foolish reject what they see, not what they think. The wise reject what they think, not what they see," end quote. In other words, when you see the boogeyman, it is foolish to reject his existence or have any thoughts whatsoever. You must be totally aware and in the present moment beyond all thoughts. Thus, in Zen, thinking is not seen as bad or evil. On the contrary, thoughts are acknowledged as being very useful for the everyday mind. But Zen is about waking up from the everyday mind and moving past all attachments to such ceaseless thoughts. As Zen Master Nansen said, quote, "Thinking is a delusion and not thinking is senseless. If you want to reach the true path beyond doubt, place yourself in the same freedom as the sky. You name it neither good nor not good," end quote. In this respect, thoughts can be seen as clouds passing across the sky of the mind, which are neither right nor wrong. As Zen Master Takuan Soho said, quote, "Before the cloud appears, the sky is perfectly clear and serene, without a trace of anything at all. Then the cloud arrives and drifts across the sky. But whether it drifts to the east or the west, once it's gone, the sky remains as it was. Before the cloud appears, no place has been prepared for it, and similarly, after it's gone, no trace of it is retained," end quote. In the same way, before Michael Myers appears, no one is prepared for him, and similarly, after he's gone, no trace of him is retained, and the night remains as it was, because Michael Myers is the shape of dark clouds. Getting back to the thoughts as clouds metaphor, Zen monk Sheng Yen said, quote, "The clouds are not the sky," end quote. With this in mind, each thought in the mind can be seen as a unique, transient, and beautiful experience, just as every cloud in the sky can be seen as the shape of perfection. Furthermore, every sunset is a perfect masterpiece where each cloud is painted with innumerable and unnamed colors. Then, after sunset, the boogeyman emerges from the darkness and dissolves the distinctions of daylight, because Michael Myers is the shape of night. Both Zen and art often transcend rationality in the same way that the boogeyman does. Thus, every Zen master knows that verbal persuasion cannot help someone who is stuck in rational logic to reach enlightenment, because very often the logician is attached to logic, and it takes an artist to tear the intellectual person away from attachment to reasoning. And thoughtless artistic tearing is exactly what the shape does. This explains why Zen masters like Michael Myers are often not the best philosophers, but instead are artists who point at the true nature of the universe that has become harder to see and experience since humans developed thoughtful logic. In other words, Zen is beyond thoughts, logic, and reasoning, and so is the boogeyman. For instance, Tathātā is a Sanskrit word usually translated as thusness or suchness, and it's very important in Zen because it represents existence as it is without being blocked by logic, conceptualizations, or distinctions of the incessant mind. Tathātā implies that enlightened Zen masters like Michael Myers do not interact with your thoughts, your stresses, or your illusory ego. They interact with the real you. So when the boogeyman killed Bob, the attack wasn't personal because there was no ego-based connections between the lives and identities of Bob and Michael. In fact, as I explained in Chapter 3, the shape has no ego identity. Thus, there was no personal motivation, vendetta, or reason for the boogeyman to kill Bob. Bob was just there and merely became another piece of Michael's Halloween art. Therefore, another poem by Michael Myers could be, "I know no Bob, but now Bob's on the wall." The shape seems to be so in the moment of current existence without thinking about it that he almost appears to admire his Bob art as if it's new and foreign to him, like someone else made it in the past and he's able to appreciate it in the present moment, even though he's the one that made it. That is very Zen as well, because people often marvel at so-called other parts of the universe, but the truth about the art of being human is that we are the universe in awe of itself. Remember that Dogen said, quote, "The entire phenomenal universe and the empty sky are nothing but a painting," end quote. So who painted it? Zen never answers this question, but I like to see the universe as both the painter and the painting, because it's the only thing that's both the creator and the creation. In other words, the universe is a master painter, and right now it's creating a life-size, constantly changing masterpiece of a self-portrait painting, and you are a brushstroke in the painting. Master Michael Myers may make it a quicker brushstroke, but you are still an integral and natural brushstroke in the painting of existence, regardless of how long you are in the painting for. As D.T. Suzuki commented, quote, "Each moment pulsates with life, both in the pine tree and in the morning glory. The worth of this moment is not measured by the 1,000 years of the one and the single day of the other, but by the moment itself, for this is absolute in each of them. Therefore, beauty is not to be spoiled by the thought of fatalism or evanescence," end quote. This indicates that the boogeyman does not spoil beauty, because there's no fatalism in his fatal art, since it's made in the present moment without any thoughts about anything. The shape simply shows us that death is a normal, even beautiful part of the universal painting, whether it comes for us in many years or in a single Halloween night. It's as if the universe temporarily uses every human face as a blank canvas to paint individual emotions onto. And Michael Myers paints fear and death onto every one of those canvases in blood, thereby turning everybody into his Halloween art. And displaying the beauty of the universe manifested in the individual. Moreover, Michael's blank white mask can be seen as a symbolic representation of the empty canvas of generic human anonymity without any temporary emotions or feelings painted onto it. The boogeyman wears this blank canvas mask while he works on his art. Because again, Michael Myers is the shape of an artist. And every artist needs the tools and media of their particular art form. The painter has a canvas and brush in the same way that the Zen Master has a life and action, in the same way that Michael Myers has a knife and death. Because the art of the shape is truly a knife and death situation. In a similar way, millions of people become artists every Halloween. People bring out their inner artist when they paint faces, make Halloween costumes, decorate their homes, or when they carve pumpkins, thereby transforming those big, beautiful orange fall fruits into artistic jack-o'-lanterns. Carving jack-o'-lanterns is truly the art of Halloween. Michael Myers merely uses people instead of pumpkins, but we all have our unique ways of celebrating Halloween. I will talk about what Halloween is in the next chapter, but I sometimes see Halloween as an annual artistic symbol for the ending of life, where autumn is the dying and Halloween is the day of death before the dead of winter. As Matsuo Bashō said in his autumnal haiku, quote, "I did not die. The end of a journey is autumn nightfall," end quote. I think The Shape feels the same way, and perhaps a similar poem by the Boogeyman would be, "I cannot die. The end of your journey is Halloween night." Part of the annual artistic cycle of nature is found in the fact that every year the leaves on the trees beautifully change color like an autumn painting, then inevitably fall around Halloween. That is the art of nature. What is unnatural, unartistic, and unrealistic is the desire for the leaves to stay green and never fall from the tree. Buddhism teaches that such desires cause suffering, because part of what makes life precious and beautiful is that it ends. And Michael Myers makes sure that it ends. Therefore, the boogeyman makes your life precious and beautiful. Furthermore, not only does he make you see that you are a part of this painting called life, he also makes you see that you are a part of the painting called death. And you are a part of the painter as well. In fact, you are the art and the artist. You are a part and the whole. To paraphrase Zen monk D.T. Suzuki, who was paraphrasing Zen Master Takuan Soho, when you focus on one leaf, you see only one and no others. Not focusing on one leaf, you see thousands. This is not to say that one view is better than the other, for both can see the beauty of autumn in different ways. This is simply about perspective. It's easy to see that you can't exist without the universe, but the trick and treat to the art of enlightenment is also seeing that the universe can't exist without you, because everything is the universe, including you, and it could be no other way because it isn't. Therefore, since The Shape simply displays the universal beauty of death as often as he can, the boogeyman is merely showing you another part of yourself, the dead part. Ironically, because Michael Myers is a master in the art of death and Halloween, there is even a chance that he will kill you with a paintbrush. He is a true artist. Indeed, Michael Myers is the shape of art. All that being said, try not to get hung up on how short life is. Instead, be like Bob and get hung up on the art of death for a change. Or be like the Shape and see that both your life and your death are incredible pieces of art, hanging in a perfect art gallery. The Boogeyman can show you how to do this because he is not only a great Zen artist, he is also a great Zen teacher as well. Which leads me to my next chapter. Okay, ghosts and goblins, that was my first draft of chapter 4 of Zen and the Art of Halloween. Stick around to the end of this video to see my bloopers because they are honestly the best part. But first, hit that subscribe button to follow me the way Michael Myers followed Bob Sims. And if you enjoyed this video, please stab the like button and hang it on the wall the way the Shape did with Bob. Be sure to check out the other chapters to put this one in context, and please comment below to let me know what you liked or tell me everything you hated and what you want the Boogeyman to do to me as punishment. Also, please comment any corrections you have if you think I made a mistake, or if you have any suggestions or additions, I'd love to hear them. Also, let me know if you'd like to see me perform a 1-hour version of this thesis live, or if you think I should publish it as a book, or if you want me to burn it with fire and never speak of it again, leave a comment. I truly appreciate every single like, share, comment, and subscription, and I will respond to all of the comments. One last thing, if you could please share this with anyone you know who's a fan of Halloween, Zen, art, or comedy, and especially if you know anyone who's a fan of all 4, please share this with them. Thank you for watching, happy Halloween, and now enjoy my bloopers. Specifically, the Shape seems to be so in the moment of he definitely doesn't For instance, resuming the quote, as although this is not to say that the Shape is so Michael Myers The Shape not only shows us the art of death, he includes us in it as well. Bob. Sneezy. So he hung Bob on the wall to admire. Bob was well hung. In other words, Bob became the art piece called Bob on the Wall. Zen is very much about and the Shape is a master painter and his art can be interpreted is a master painter. I can't do it. The universe is a master painter. Is a master painter, and I can't get past it. Goop out. Prioritizing thereby face as a blank canvas to Mushin is the Mushin is an alto Mushin is the ow. Art. In the scenery of autumn, there is no quote. Quote, whoa. It should be noted that how his art. It is display the one of the most important. Laurie Strode was one of Michael's harshest critics. Your thoughts will not save you from the reality of the shot. It takes an artist to tear the intellectual person away from attachment to reasoning. To stay green and never fall from the tree. Michael's is a symbolic People... René Descartes said, quote, All Zen Masters see the artistic side of existence. The end of your journey is Halloween night. Halloween night. Halloween night. Halloween night! The boogeyman's Halloween death art. It was the boogeyman's Halloween death art. It was the boogeyman's Halloween whoopee.